Hello everyone, please press subscribe, press follow, press the bell so you don't miss any new clips. Adorable treasured fox divine doctor mother overturning the heavens. Author by Co Chi Yi. Audio novels by Novelist. Chapter 281, Lan Yu's Belonging. General Lin Da, I will take my leave now. Bai Zheng Xiang couldn't care for anything else anymore. Cupping his hand to signal his departure, he scampers away without so much as glancing at old Madame Yu behind himself. Stamping her feet at how her man would leave without helping, Yu Rong naturally wouldn't be pleased. However, by the time she was ready to look for help around herself, the eyes coming her were none. The rest of the people here was blatantly pretending like they saw nothing. Unjust is doomed to destruction. Coming before this pair of hateful creatures, Wei King gives a heavy grunt before following in by Xiao's leaving shadow. Ellipsis. Tranquil and peaceful inside the palace, Bai Yan was currently waiting alone inside the old queen's quarter while the dowager rummaged through one of her cabinets. Child, this is your mother's. She left me with this so that I can one day pass it on to you when you've come to age. What came into view from the queen's hand was a dragon and phoenix embroidered satchel. My mother's belonging. Bai Yan was slightly stunned by this. Taking it off the old granny's hand, she didn't wait and directly rummaged through the small package to bring out a piece of paper. Based on how yellowish the sheet of paper was, it's obvious the letter was written many years ago. My daughter Bai Yan, when you see this letter I speculate I would no longer be a part of this world already. Perhaps you and your brother will hate me and blame me, but mother, never regretted that decision. Otherwise, how could your brother be born? Upon reaching this point in her read, Bai Yan was seriously starting to doubt whether or not she's really Lan Yu's daughter. How can a mother not mention her daughter at all? Continuing her read. Mother knows, I don't have many days left. Since the day Madame Yu entered the house, that woman had already poisoned me. Funny thing is by the time I realized this, your father will no longer believe in me. Stillbirth. Her fingers inexplicably started to tremble because this just might be her chance to learn the truth. In the following context that I'm about to say is the truth. You may not be able to accept this, but you have the right to know. Bai Yan, my sweet dearest daughter, you are not my trueborn. Years ago I owed a friend of mine a great favor. Though brief in our encounter, what that woman did was something I can never repay. Sadly, by the time she appeared before me again after our short meeting, that person was already in a horrible state while carrying you in her embrace, the baby you. She begged me to take care of you as my own daughter in her blood-ridden state, so I did. I originally wanted to introduce you as my foster daughter, but fate likes to play with us. In the same night I received you, my child, still in belly, was ready to come out. As you can guess, the baby ended up being a stillborn and I replaced the child with you, thus turning you into my biological daughter. Your father isn't aware of this. I feared he would treat you differently from the rest, so I kept this a secret even till my death. Yan Yan, my sweet dearest daughter, when you leave the Bai house in the future, promise me not to change your maiden name. The Bai name is your biological mother's surname, so remember this. Bai Yan was shocked. It appears her foster mother Lan Yu was more perceptible than she appears to be in the public. The woman predicted she would leave one day, and she predicted Bai Zheng Xiang wouldn't be kind to her child. My precious daughter, although you are not my biological daughter but love you and your brother equally the same. I truly didn't want to leave you too. I'm sorry, I truly am. My only hope is for you to look after your grandparents. I owe them far too much and caused them far too much sorrow with my mistakes. Please, take care of yourself and live well. Chapter 282, So this is the truth. Overcome with grief and discomfort at the content in her hands, she had gone silent. So this is the truth. In actual fact, Lan Yu was no foolish woman like everyone made her out to be. She's just madly in love and can't escape the web she weaved. Now the only questions remains, did she ever regret her choices at the moment of death? Child, what did your mother write? The old queen looked worried after seeing how stormy the girl's expression grew. Coming back to her senses, my mother said, "Cousin." It was then a loud voice interrupted her sentence from the outside. It was Lan Xiaoyun, girl cousin, who beckoned her attention. As if getting her courage back at Bai Yan's existence, she burst into tears and ran with all her heart over to their spot. "Xiaoyun, what happened?" Shocked by the messy appearance of her cousin, Bai Yan hurries to help support the girl's stumbling body. "Cousin, my mother, she..." "Aunt, what's wrong? Something happened to her." Her expression growing ever so darker at the impending reply. "My mother and my second brother was making a visit to my grandfather's maiden-side place 2 days ago." In the end, Lan Xiaoyun attempts to wipe her sobering mess of a face clean. In the end she got beaten until she's in a coma. "My father and my older brother is now hurrying back from their training, but before that, Grandpa and Grandma is readying the soldiers for battle. They want to get revenge for Mother." "Cousin, I'm so scared." "Calm yourself first, Aunt will be fine. I will leave with you now." According to Bai Yan's impression, Dong Ruolan had always been gentle and virtuous on the outside, never getting into arguments or fights. So why would she be knocked into a coma by someone? Contemplating her options, she eventually decides to hand the letter off to the old queen. "Your Grace, I'm going to have to trouble you to pass this on to my brother. Please tell him, no matter what happens from now and hereafter, he will always be my brother. He is my family as well as the entire Lan house. On this point, that will never change. So what if I am not Lan Yu's actual biological daughter? As long as the bond is there and they too care for me, then that's enough." After leaving behind this much, Bai Yan then turns away with her cousin in tow. Ellipsis. Palace back garden. Dai Xiaoyun and Bai Xiaocan was in the middle of waiting for Bai Yan when they caught sight of the horrible-looking Lan Xiaoyun. "Xiaoyun, tell me, who is picking on you? I will go beat them right now." Dai Xuanhuan instantly flared up after seeing the tearful face of her friend. Contrary to the soothing effect some may have expected, Lan Xiaoyun's eyes only got redder. "Thank you. You are sister-in-law's cousin. That makes us cousins too. Not to mention we also work together to beat other people and make trouble. If you are facing trouble and getting picked, then it won't just be me who's mad, Chu Yi will also be too." Dai Xuanhuan didn't disappoint at all in this important time. "Those people must be asking for death, picking on my people." In response to that attitude and initiative to help, Lan Xiaoyun's heart instantly warmed up. "I'm fine, it's my mother, she's been left in a coma." "What? Who actually dares to hit Auntie? Sister-in-law, we must go get revenge this instant." Giving her cousin a slight nod, Bai Yan readily agrees. "Let us go now then." "Mother, I also want to go." Grabbing onto her mother's hand, Bai Xiaocan puckers his cute little lips as he spoke. "Those baddies picked on Auntie Xiaoyun's mother, I want to help get revenge too." "All right." Sweeping her gaze over to the dragon, Bai Yan locks onto the creature. "Perfect. This glass dragon can get us there in just 1 hour. We will use him." "Hold on, wait." As if recalling something, Dai Xuanhuan stops the group. "Something like making trouble cannot be without our third partner. We need Chu Yi too." Chapter 283, The Earth-Shattering 333. Pricking her brow, Bai Yan was starting to get suspicious. "When did the two of you get so close?" "Sister-in-law," giving a cheeky snort, Dai Xuanhuan appears quite proud when asked. "At the very least I and Yi have exchanged a drink and fought together." "Oh yes, we also do." When it came to the last part, her tongue instantly halted. She knows, if the news of the two of them running off to the flower brothel to seduce the ladies there gets out, then no doubt Bai Yan would kick her out in an instant. Though the both of them were in disguise, that's not the main issue. All in all, Yi and Xiaoyun are the earth-shattering 333, we can't lose a single one. Perhaps it's due to Bai Yan getting involved, but that statement was enough to brighten up the mood for the poor girl. In that second, Lan Xiaoyun couldn't resist chuckling at the silly remark. "Then you hurry and go find Chu Yi. By the way, Xiaoyun, you go back and tell grandfather that I will personally go solve the issue, he can stay home instead. He's too old to get involved." "Okay, I will go now. Listening to the advice, the girl immediately rushed out of the palace for home. Fortunately, the distance between the palace and the land house wasn't very far. In no time at all, the trio were back and ready to depart with Bayan. Since everyone is here, then we're going now. Picking up her son into her arms, she promptly jumped atop of the glass dragon's back. Following suit were Dai Xuanhuan, Chuyi and Lan Shaoyun. Once everyone was aboard, the dragon didn't disappoint. In a gush of wind, its body head flew out into the distant sky like a thunderbolt. Ellipsis. The Wanxiang continent has 4 main kingdoms. They are the Lu Huo Kingdom, Qiqia Kingdom, Qiyuo Kingdom, and last but not least, the Fengqi Kingdom that's known for their female rulers. Of the 4 kingdoms mentioned, Lan Shaoyun's mother was from the Qiqia Kingdom, mainly the Dong family. Just like the Lan house, her maiden family was one of the most powerful noble houses in that nation. In the current moment, the Dong family's estate was covered in a cloud of gloom. This atmosphere only got worse with every passing second due to the constant sighing and weeping of old Madame Dong inside the bedroom where Dong Ruolan was being kept. Why isn't Ruolan waking up? We've fed her the damn pill and called for healer Wu Lin too. Holding his old hand out to comfort his wife on the shoulder, old Lord Dong also appears helpless and frustrated there in the room. Our daughter will definitely come to. A good person will be met with good fortune. You still have the nerve to talk. Old Madame Dong narrows in her eyes at the old man. My daughter is already in this state, aren't you going to avenge her? Dong Tianling's face instantly went stiff at the sassy rebuke. But just as he's about to explain himself, a small servant interrupted them by rushing in from the outside. Lord, Madam, the young master and the young madam is here. The old woman's complexion was still okay at first, but upon hearing this announcement, her expression instantly went cold. They still have the nerve to come. Have them get out of my sight, I don't want to see them. Unfortunately for the old madam, her order had just barely finished when an irritation call chimed in. Mother, why are you so angry? Big sister is fine, is she not? The voice belongs to the female woman coming in with her husband. Despite being adorned with a fine set of clothes, borderline lavishing, her looks and demeanor only made that appearance unfriendly and hard to get close. As for the man beside this woman known as Fu Baoyun, timidly lowering his head, the person never once looked up to meet the old madam's eyes. It's pretty obvious the guy felt guilty over something. Fine. Old Madame Dong slams the bed and stood up. My daughter is still stuck in a coma. How dare you say she's fine? Twitching in her mouth, Fu Baoyun clearly had trouble in intercepting that statement. I only knocked her by accident. Who could have guessed she'd be so easily hurt? I say, I bet you she's just acting right now. Chapter 284, Old Madame Dong fainted 1. Hurting in her chest at this shameless statement, the old madam was ready to collapse at any moment due to the pain. Fortunately for the old granny, her husband was around. Catching his wife in the nick of time, Dong Tianling then casts a sharping daring glare at the man beside Fu Baoyun. Ruo Qin, do you really intend to frustrate your mother to her coffin? Ruolan is already in this state thanks to you two. Now you want to ruin the whole family too. This time the old lord was truly enraged. No longer suppressing his pent-up steam, he explodes at his son and daughter-in-law. Dong Ruo Qin may be his son, but Dong Ruolan was also his daughter. Both are his children, how can he not be pained? Their relationship used to be so good, why did it change so drastically after this woman entered our doors? Baoyun, struggling at first, the man in the end chose to turn to his wife. Why don't we go back for now? You shut up. Fu Baoyun mercilessly glares at her own man. Don't forget, I am the actual daughter-in-law of your family. Dong Ruolan is already married to the Lan house, she's an outsider now. You are actually helping an outsider to go against me. All I did was hit her a little, who could have guessed she'd be so delicate and squeamish? Against that verbal assault, Dong Ruo Qin could only quietly lower his head. That demeanor was no different from a cowardly man being gobbled up by his bossy wife. From the beginning of everything, their marriage was an act of humiliation for his wife. A royal princess with countless pursuers taking on a young boy with no real authority or power. If that's not a feat of status degradation, then what else can it be? Note: in ancient China, if a princess wants to take a husband, then it's usually the man marrying into the royal family and not this way around where the princess married into the Dong family. That's why it's considered a humiliation, because she would technically be kicked out of the royal family book. It wasn't just the man himself either. Even the old lord and madam here were very condoning of Fu Baoyun's horrible behaviors until this day. If not for the shameless woman trying to force Dong Ruolan into bestowing Lan Xiaoyun onto that useless third prince of this kingdom, things wouldn't have devolved into this state. The third prince of the Qiqia kingdom, a famed villain that rapes and bully the weak. To send anyone to that man's side was akin to throwing the person into a fire pit. There's no way Dong Ruolan would do something so horrendous to her own daughter. That's the reason why Fu Baoyun would attack Dong Ruolan. The woman went against this shameless person's will. Leave. Get out of my sight. Seeing how cowardly her son was acting, old Madame Dong can no longer use words to describe her emotions. Gasping hard, if you two don't want to send me to my coffin, then get out of here. Leave. What did I ever do to have agreed to this marriage? If I had been sterner and said no back then, Ruolan wouldn't have fallen into this state. Baoyun. Looking at his mother's terrible state, the man remains useless as ever and only pursed his lip. Mother, you are old already, so please don't get so upset. Dong Ruoqin, what did you say? Stabbing her fists against her waist, Fu Baoyun had not an ounce of the temperament that's expected of a princess. To call her a shrew was more fitting. Is your mother more important or me? I am a princess and even gave birth to your children. Are you going to help them over me? I don't mean that. Flushing hard in his face, Dong Ruoqin was at a loss on how to deal with this onslaught from his wife. Then what do you mean, huh? Back then I wanted your sister to marry my brother the king, but what did you people do? Instead you married her to a far-off land. So what if the Lan house is a first-rate noble family? It's still incomparable to the royal family. That's because the palace harem has too many concubines. Mother don't want Ruolan to suffer through that ordeal and endure the bitterness of that life. And the Lan house doesn't allow extra concubines into their family. If not for those reasons, why would mother send sister away to such a far-off land? Just returning for a visit is a difficult thing. Chapter 285, Old Madame Dong fainted too. What's wrong with being a concubine? Which man doesn't have a concubine? It's normal for a man to have 3 or 4 wives. How can she alone demand not to share her husband? Seeing how disobedient her husband was acting, Fu Baoyun nearly went mad there. She's used to having her way and won't take it in any other form otherwise. But I have never taken a concubine after taking you as my wife. Timid as ever, the man attempts to rebuke his wife. Humph, you actually dare to compare me with your sister. I am a princess of this kingdom. Your sister, she's but a daughter of the Dong house. How can you even think to put her in my position? The fact that I'm willing to degrade myself into marrying you is your greatest honor. Don't you even think about taking on a concubine. A royal consort, that's such a good opportunity. How can they even refuse such a proposal? Her relationship with the king had never been all that close to begin with. That's why she wanted Dong Ruolan to become her brother's consort back then. It's to build up on that connection and increase her influence. But what did this blasted group do? Send the girl far, far away so she can be married to that damnable Lan family. For Lan Xiaoyun to become my third nephew's consort is her greatest fortune. So what if he's a bastard? At the very least he's the queen's own child and a legitimate member of the royal family. You should be bowing to me for giving you people this chance. Now that did it. The man couldn't even make a peep at this point. What can he say? The dude still thinks he's the one that owed his wife. Suddenly Dong Tianling exclaims from the side. It's because his wife, old Madame Dong, had fainted away from that outrageous state. Crimson in his old eyes, old Lord Dong could no longer take it. It seems today you two really want to force me and your old mother to the coffin. All right, someone come, bring me my sword. I will show the world how unfilial you two really are by killing myself. As unreasonable and shameless as this Fu Baoyun was, not even she can withstand this shocking threat from her father-in-law. It's one thing to knock Dong Ruolan unconscious, it's a whole different matter to force her parents into self-mutilation. Just the public outcry will drown her to death. Despite her fear, the woman continues to put on a strong front. Humph, fine, I will let you people off the hook just because you are my husband's parent. However, Lan Xiaoyun must be married off this time. Whether or not she's willing is not up to her. She will marry and she will marry happily. The royal family taking in a consort should be a joyous occasion. To have the girl in question weeping and crying on the important date would be catastrophic for the mood. You still not leaving? Dong Tianling was truly enraged. If not for his good upbringing, the old lord would have really went forward to hurt this woman. Father, I'm only advising you. Considering Lan Xiaoyun's status, what glory it is for her to marry the third prince. Moreover, it's likely His Highness will become the next king. Even if you don't care for the connection, you should at least put into consideration for little Zhu and little Lin's future, right? Dong Muzhu was their daughter and Dong Mulin was their son. If they can push Lan Xiaoyun into the palace, then it will be a great boon to helping their children in the future. For that reason alone, Dong Ruoqing would have no reason to help his father and go against his wife. As expected, that was enough to shut the old lord up. Turning away from his son, Dong Tianling went back to tending his wife and helped the old granny up to the bed where their daughter lay. Seeing how the old grandfather was now completely ignoring him, Fu Baoyun was the first to leave. She's not so silly to keep making things difficult for herself when the other side clearly didn't want her around. Like a proud peacock, she stomps out of the room like she's the mistress, leaving behind her husband alone watching. At first Dong Ruoqing still wanted to stay, but when he tried, his wife immediately hollered for him from the outside. Sure enough, his will to stay quickly crumbled like a timid mouse facing a predatory cat. Chapter 286, Old Madame Dong Fainted 3. Despite the apologetic look in his eyes, the man in the end didn't utter another word and followed in his wife's footsteps. In accordance with that saddening behavior, the old lord's heart only grew colder and colder until the emotions devolved into pure disappointment and pain. This is my good son. For a woman, he's willing to ignore his own unconscious mother. What a good son I have. Laughing at himself in ridicule, Dong Tianling, old lord, really regretted having this son. After a good hour later, the unconscious old granny finally came to. The first thing she did was to cry and weep at her own misfortune. Dong Tianling, look at your good son. It's bad enough that he would indulge his wife and allow her to spend time alone with another man, now he's even willing to give away his niece to that horrible third prince. Sighing, Dong Tianling attempts to comfort his wife by patting her on the shoulder. Don't worry, wife, I am the head of this family. So long as I don't agree, then no one can force her. Moreover, Xiaoyun is the Lan family's child. So long as they don't agree, then this won't work. The world always say a family should take a daughter lower than themselves, there's a reason for that. Why did you even agree to let that Fu Baoyun into our house? If not for her, Ruolan wouldn't have been turned into this comatose state. The old lady's emotions were very unstable. Just thinking of her daughter's state in the future that's awaiting her granddaughter, this old granny's heart would instantly tense up in pain. Dong Tianling didn't know what to say here. He too also opposed the idea back then, but his son was so dead set on the marriage. How can he as a father force the pair apart? Because of that one moment of softness, their family now has to face the consequences of their choice. Old man, asked the old lady, how long are you going to keep Xiaoyun away from here? Her mother's been left in a coma and you won't even allow her to take revenge. Helpless in his expression, I just don't want her to be harmed. No matter what, Fu Baoyun is still a royal princess at her core. Even if the king isn't close with her, but for the sake of the royal family's prestige, the king will definitely make a move. Then we're really going to leave this be. The old lady was very reluctant to accept this ending. No matter how horrible that Fu Baoyun thinks of her, the old madam can still take it. But it's her daughter this time, how can she take it lying down? Even if I want to leave this be, the Lam family definitely won't. Shaking his old head, the old lord continues, I heard the Lan house is very favorable towards our daughter. When they catch wind of this, Lord Lan will surely come asking for an answer. If they can get the backing of Luo Huo's royal family, then we might just be able to punish that woman. Really? Don't get too happy just yet. I have long heard about the Lan house being at odd terms with the royal family of that kingdom. What's more, it's said that they hate the father-in-law of the current crown prince to their core. With that sort of relationship, it's unlikely they can get that sort of backing. Old Madame Dong had seen Lan Yu before too, so she's not completely unaware of her unfortunate fate of marrying a scum of a husband. Such a beautiful child too. Unlike the denizens of the Lu Huo kingdom, the occupants of this Chi-Chia kingdom was still blind to the current events taking place over in that nation. Therefore, it's normal for the pair of old bones to lose hope. Ellipsis. When Fu Baoyun left her in-laws behind, the first place she took to was her own quarters in the house where Dong Muzu ambushed the woman like a butterfly. Mother, I heard Dong Ruolan came back with a beautiful fire phoenix, is that true? In response to her daughter's question, Fu Baoyun only had jealousy in her eyes. Yes, she did ride a phoenix back here. You were not around that day, so of course you wouldn't have seen it. Chapter 287, Old Madame Dong fainted for. Mother, where do you think Dong Ruolan wife got that phoenix from? Twirling her eyes as if thinking something, Dong Muzu's daughter sounded curious in her tone. She said her father-in-law gave it to her. Such a rare demon beast, as if they would do that. If anything, it would have went to their son instead if it's true. Dong Ruolan isn't even me. I am a royal princess while she's but a lowly noble's daughter, how can she even compare to me? Not only that, she was also married off into another family, and a far one at that. If old Lord Lam isn't stupid, then there's no way he would have given the woman such a precious creature. Likely just Dong Ruolan trying to hide her unfortunate life in the Lan house, that's why she brought along this phoenix. If it weren't the Lan house giving it to her, then where did it come from? It wouldn't be. Hurrying to cup her mouth, Dong Muzu's daughter meaning was very obvious. Clicking her tongue in support, Fu Baoyun's wife was the same as her daughter. Don't worry about it, I bet it's exactly as you think. Don't you see her appearance? She's way younger looking than the last time she visited. I bet she used her beauty to hook up with some other men and managed to swindle the phoenix off one of her patrons. What? I will never be a concubine, to think she was acting all pure and stuff before. Nothing but a dirty slut. Opening and closing his lips repeatedly on the side, Dong Ruokan's husband really wanted to object to the claim. He knows his sister wasn't like that. Sadly, his timid attitude once again won the better of him. Mother, flickering a light in her eyes, Dong Muzu suddenly grew excited. Do you know where that fire phoenix is? If we can catch it and offer it up to the royal family, then perhaps, my uncle the king would finally have a change in attitude towards us. She wants to have such a beautiful phoenix, but compared to that desire, she much rather the king treat her better. The reasoning, it's because that's a permanent increase of her interest. Perfect. I will go tell my brother the king now. Besides, that fire phoenix should have been ours to begin with. That Dong Ruolan doesn't deserve to possess such a being. The woman's eye emulating a beam of conniving greed as she stated this. She's heard it already, the phoenix can travel thousands of miles per day. That was proven in how fast Dong Ruolan was able to arrive back home. Now, all she has to do was to gift it to her brother, then surely he would be touched. By then some duke title or whatever was a given. A perfect plan to embolden her son's influence and power. Baoyun, seeing his wife and daughter getting more and more excessive, Dong Ruokan can no longer stay silent. Don't you think that's not very good? After all, the phoenix is my big sister's. Sinking in her expression, the shameless woman immediately went on the offensive. What's hers? It's mine, you hear me? Everything that enters the Dong family is mine. How dare you help an outsider over me? If you say it one more time, then I will divorce you right now. Sure enough, the man had lost his backbone the second the word, divorce, was brought up. Really, father, you just. Giving a snort, the young girl wasn't all that much better. Why are you always siding with that woman? You call her sister, but have she ever done the job of a sister? If she truly cared, then she should have become uncle's consort back then, not running off to a far-off land just to marry a noble's son. I will not recognize someone like that as my aunt, you hear me? Such selfish people isn't worthy to be called my aunt. Dong Ruokan's face had gone white. Although he knows full well his wife and daughter was in the wrong, but his cowardice always got the better of him. Were leaving, casting a scornful look at her own husband, Fu Baoyun didn't even want to waste another word on the man anymore. Come, my daughter, let us go visit your uncle in the palace. I'm sure he will have some masters strong enough to subdue the phoenix. By then I won't believe the bird won't surrender under the test of torture. Chapter 288, Bai Yan arrives. It's just a demon beast, nothing but an animal at its core. Only that stupid Dong Ruolan would worship the phoenix like her ancestor. Ellipsis. Chi-Chia Kingdom. Above the streets of the royal capital, a huge dragon was zooming through the sky at lightning speed when the pedestrians became glued to that shining light caused by the reflecting scales. Their looks were full of shock and astonishment. Oh heavens! Did I see it wrong? Is that a dragon? It really is a dragon. Just a few days ago the city was already in an uproar over that phoenix flying to the Dong house, now it's a dragon. What is this world coming to? I'm willing to bet that dragon is also heading to the Dong house based on the direction it's flying at. When did that family know so many people that can domesticate this many demon beasts? Ellipsis. Bai Yan and the others were naturally oblivious to the discussions down below, nor would they care actually, they're too preoccupied with their own worries. Chui Yi and Dai Xuanhuan were clinging onto each other over their boss's hair-raising cold expression, while Lan Xiaoyun only had a worried face regarding her mother's fate. Before long, the glass dragon had stopped above the Dong family's estate. Using its massive body to overshadow the very sun, its presence alone was more than enough to cause the occupants inside to scramble out of their hiding. However, two very important key figures were missing, and that was the seniors of the house. Son, let's go down. Holding up her son in hand, she smoothly lands onto the ground without an ounce of discomfort for the young boy. Xiaoyun, I will bring you down with me, don't be afraid. Jumping down at the same time as Bai Yan, Dai Xuanhuan only released her friend after making sure the girl was safe and sound. If it were in the past, Chu Yi would surely compete with Dai Xuanhuan over this, but since the mood was very bad, she relented and went ahead by herself. By now Fu Baoyun and Dong Ruoking had also rushed out of their room after getting wind of this commotion. Seeing it was Lan Xiaoyun in her anxious state, this hateful woman only released a sneer. Lan Xiaoyun, you came back with the perfect timing. I have some good news to tell you. Gnashing her teeth, the girl herself didn't want to waste words. Where is my mother and my second brother? Lan Xiaoyun. Coming out from behind her mother's back in high spirit, Dong Muzu was very arrogant in her attitude. Is that how you talk to your elders? My mother is your aunt, how dare you shout at her? Did they never teach you proper manners? Shaking due to her rage, Lan Xiaoyun wanted to spew fire right now. Smickering a cold one. Respect. When did your mother ever respect my mother? When did you ever respect my mother? Now you actually have the nerve to talk manners. What do you mean by that? Revealing a sardonic smile, Fu Baoyun's next sentence was rather cynical. Your mother is but a married daughter of the family, what contribution does she have to offer the Dong house? It's only right my Muzu doesn't respect her. Now you actually have the nerve to say that so confidently. Did your mother not give you a proper upbringing? Meanwhile on the side, Dai Xuanhuan and Chu Yi were both truly flabbergasted by this shocking display of shamelessness. Who's acting so confidently? Her daughter not respecting the elder is right, while Lan Xiaoyun not calling her aunt is a poor upbringing. Such double standard was something both girls never seen before. This would be their first, and boy was it a showstopper for them. I will ask it one last time, where is my mother? Her fists clenching into a ball as she said this. If it weren't for her grandparents here, Lan Xiaoyun would have already attacked these two. Chapter 289, Look at your niece. Dong Ruo-Keen, look at your niece. Steaming in her head, the shameless woman turns to glare at her own husband. In response to this, the man immediately stepped forward, his face stern and hard. Xiaoyun, hurry and apologize. Once you do, I will let you see your mother. Apologize. Lan Xiaoyun could only laugh in mockery. Uncle, you've really been seduced to the point of being lost. Apologize. Dream on. Her mother had mentioned it before already. Due to their similar age, the two were very close in their younger years, that's why Dong Rulan could never steal her heart and sever this relationship. Xiaoyun, softening in his voice, the man even sounded somewhat pleading there, you know it too. Your aunt is a royal princess, so marrying into the Dong family is a degrading act to her status in of it itself. Why must you make your aunt so unhappy? Degrading. It's precisely because of that word that my own mother would be forced to endure this woman's humiliation for all these years. It's precisely because of that word that my mother would refrain from visiting more often. It's all because of this Fu Baiyun, because of her existence. Uncle, this is the last time I will call you uncle. If you think her marriage to you is degrading, then it is up to you to repay that debt. You've already dragged my grandparents down for that, now you also want to drag my mother down too. Let me remind you, my mother is part of the Lan house now in name and by law. Why should she be the one to pay for your debt? Outrageous. Flushing red in her face, Fu Baoyun wasn't going to have any of this. This lass is getting out of control the older she gets. I better teach her a lesson today lest she forgets whose her elders are. Reaching up to this point in her thoughts, the shameless woman was ready to give the girl a giant slap across the face by stepping forward. Unfortunately before she can carry out the act, a leg had stretched outward to send her flying out across the yard. Boom. Slamming back first against a wall, Fu Baoyun was now completely covered in rubble due to the strong impact of her body. Calmly retracting her lethal leg, Bayan was dangerously scary in her eyes right now. Xiaoyun, why are you wasting your words on these people? If you want to see aunt, then we can just go ahead, no one can stop us. Raising a smirk, her provocative lips were very threatening. Dai Xuanhuan, Chu Yi. Both of you go knock 'em out for me. Both girls were very eager to fight to begin with, but due to Bayan not giving them the go-ahead, they've restrained their urge until this moment. Now that they got permission, it's not hard to imagine how meaningful their eyes are glowing. They are the butchers and the people here are their prey ready to be placed on the chopping blocks. Cousin, let us go to the room where my mother used to live prior to her marriage, the girl proposes to Bayan after musing over where to look. Okay. Let's go see then. Towing Bai Shaochun's cute little hand, Bayan followed behind Lan Xiaoyun for the inside. Stop. It was then Dong Ruokan's enraged voice reached him from behind. Xiaoyun, aren't you going to give an explanation after your friends hit your aunt? Halting in her footsteps at the inquiry, Lan Xiaoyun was very cold in her voice, and she hitting me is fine. She is your aunt. What about my mother then? Cynical in her tongue, Lan Xiaoyun was starting to get impatient. I like to remind you that she is not your junior. On contrary, my mother is your senior, your elder sister. This. Dong Ruo-Keen was stumped and started to weaken in his stance. It wasn't easy for Baoyun to marry into the Dong family back then. She suffered a lot of humiliation because of that. Although the Dong house cannot be comparable to royal authority, but it's still a first-rate noble family. There's no reason for her to be humiliated by her peers over this marriage. If one had to find fault, then it would be Dong Ruo-Keen, the man himself. Untalented and dull in his looks, it's obvious Fu Baoyun were worlds apart from this man in terms of looks and strength. Chapter 290, Execute all of them. At the beginning, when Fu Baoyun suddenly announced she would marry Dong Ruo-Keen, it was true that there were no less of people trying to pour cold water over the union. In addition, there were also a lot of gossips surrounding their firstborn because of an incident where Fu Baoyun had a slip, thus causing a premature birth. As a result of that, they say the pair were together even before marriage, that's why the baby came early and not simply due to a fall. Compiling all of these things together, it's not surprising the man himself would be so indulgent towards his wife. He's remorseful for his own inability to do better. No matter what, it is Fu Baoyun's own choice, is it not? Lan Xiaoyun was very indifferent in her attitude, and I'm quite curious about this myself. If she can withstand so much pressure from all angles just to marry you, then why is she not loving you like she's supposed to? Logically speaking, that should be the case, is it not? Not going to say more, Lan Xiaoyun only left this meaningful statement behind and walked away. Sure enough, Dong Ruoqin was starting to sway in his mind. If anyone were to know Fu Baoyun's attitude towards him, then it can only be the man himself. What love? More like the woman was downright scornful of him. If she didn't love me, then why marry me? Before he could think through this dilemma, the man's contemplating thought was suddenly interrupted by Fu Baoyun's enraged cry from the side. Dong Ruoqin, are you dead? Why are you wasting so much word with that girl? Hurry and drag me out of here. Coming back to his senses at that command, Dao Ruoqin hurriedly dug through the rubble to help his wife out. Then before he knew, the woman had sent a major slap across his face the second she was free. It was crisp and it was loud, sending the servants and those present into a fearful daze. Dong Ruoqin, you useless thing, don't you see I'm being bullied? You should have given her a good beating. After her enraged accusation of the man, the shameless woman then shifts her focus to the servants nearby, and all of you, just standing there and watching while I'm getting hit. What use is there in keeping you lot around? Someone come, drag these people away and execute them. Mother. Alarmed by this, her daughter Dong Muzu immediately jumped in to change the idea. Don't be impulsive, mother. If you kill so many people at once, then what would the world think of you? In my opinion, just giving them 100 beatings with the rod would suffice. Realizing it wouldn't be good either if it goes public, her tone instantly took a full turn. For the sake of my daughter, then so be. All of you go on your own to receive the punishment. If there's a second time in the future, then there will be no mercy. Though she says, but they are but average people with barely passable levels of cultivation. Even 100 rods would be enough to take their lives if not careful. Worst of all, they can't even show off their true emotions and could only put on a pretentious look of gratitude. Father, you are really... Showing a dissatisfied look at her own father, Dong Muzu was rather irritated. Do you not see mother being bullied? Instead of helping, you just stood there and nearly misunderstood mother over a few petty words. This Dong family belongs to me and my brother. Who does that Lan Xiaoyun think she is? Nothing but an outsider. Showing a somewhat distressed face, Dong Ruoqin wanted to explain himself. Baoyun, please hear me out. Let me explain. Explain. What do you want to explain? The hateful woman sneered. I went through so much just to marry you. Do you think that's easy? I gave up my precious status just to be with you, yet in the end it can't even be comparable to an outsider's simple wording. If I knew you were this heartless, then I would have never married you under all that pressure back then. I didn't mean it like that. Dong Ruoqin was born a piece of wood, so naturally he wouldn't know how to say anything nice. His only response was to sweat profusely on his forehead like a panicking blockhead. End of the chapter. Adorable treasured fox divine doctor mother overturning the heavens, will be read in 10 chapters for every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday and Sunday. Please leave this sound novel and press subscribe, follow, and the bell so you don't miss any new clips as well. See you.